In WWE, things don't always go as planned, from real injuries to shocking betrayals. These are the matches that broke the script and left fans wondering what was real. The curtain call. Madison Square Garden, May 1996. In May of 1996, Madison Square Garden wasn't just hosting another WWE house show. It became the site of one of the most infamous unscripted moments in wrestling history. After the main event, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon, and Triple H, better known as The Clique, did something unthinkable. In front of a sold-out crowd, they broke character completely. The good guys and the villains hugged it out in the middle of the ring, raised each other's hands, and said goodbye. To the fans in attendance, it was emotional, almost magical. In WWE locker room, it was pure sacrilege. For decades, wrestling had been built on protecting kayfabe, never letting the audience see behind the curtain. That night, the Clique shattered it. This unscripted moment became known as the curtain call. Vince McMahon didn't plan it, and he certainly didn't approve it. To make matters worse, Razor and Diesel were leaving for WCW. That meant the only ones left to take the heat were Shawn and Triple H. Michaels was the champ, untouchable. But Triple H, he paid the price. Hunter was originally set to win the 1996 King of the Ring. Instead, that push went to a hungry mid-carder named Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that one twist of fate gave us the birth of Austin 316. One unscripted hug between friends didn't just cause backstage chaos, it changed the entire trajectory of WWE. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, the Montreal Screwjob, 1997. If there's one match that defines the phrase off-script, it's the Montreal Screwjob. Survivor Series, November 1997. On paper, it was supposed to be a classic, but behind the scenes, everything was chaos. Bret was on his way out of WWE, set to sign with WCW. He didn't want to lose to Shawn in Canada, and Vince McMahon didn't want his champion showing up on another company's show with the belt. Tensions were boiling, and something had to give. Midway through the match, the action looked normal. But as Shawn locked Bret in the sharpshooter, referee Earl Hebner suddenly called for the bell. Bret never tapped. The match was over, Shawn was declared the new champion, and in that instant, Bret realized he had been double-crossed. Crowd exploded in anger. Bret spat directly in Vince McMahon's face at ringside, smashing TV equipment and drawing the letter WCW in the air with his hands. The cameras caught every second of it. This wasn't storyline anymore. This was real betrayal. Broadcast live on pay-per-view. The Montreal Screwjob didn't just change Bret's career, it changed wrestling forever. It gave birth to the Mr. McMahon character, the evil boss that would become the cornerstone of the Attitude Era. And it cemented Shawn Michaels as one of the most controversial figures in the business. One off-script ending turned a scripted match into the most infamous double cross in wrestling history. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Owen Hart, SummerSlam, 1997. By the summer of 1997, Stone Cold Steve Austin was on fire. His anti-authority persona was exploding with fans, and his rise felt unstoppable. But at SummerSlam, one moment nearly ended it all. Faceton collapsed, briefly paralyzed. For a few terrifying seconds, the arena didn't know what they were seeing. The toughest guy in the company was crawling, unable to move his arms. Yet in pure grit, Austin forced the weakest roll-up you'll ever see. Slow, awkward, but enough for the 3 count. The crowd erupted, unaware how bad it was. That botch nearly ended his career before it began. Austin missed months, and even after returning, his neck was never the same. Years later, it finally gave out, cutting his career short, but pushing through that moment only cemented his legend. Austin didn't just play a fighter, he lived it. The Rock versus Mankind. I Quit match. Royal Rumble, 1999. By 1999, The Rock and Mankind had one of WWE's wildest rivalries, but nothing prepared fans for what they witnessed at the Royal Rumble. Their I Quit match wasn't just brutal. It went so far off script that even diehard fans were left shaken. The rules were simple: make your opponent say, "I quit." But from the moment the bell rang, things escalated. Steel chairs, handcuffs, brawling into the crowd. This wasn't just a match, it was a war. The Rock, freshly crowned as the corporate champion, played the perfect villain. Mankind, the underdog, absorbed punishment that no human should. The moment that turned the match from violent to terrifying came when The Rock handcuffed Mankind's hands behind his back. With no way to defend himself, Mankind was trapped. Then, in front of a stunned crowd, The Rock swung a steel chair again and again. Not one, not two, but 11 unprotected chair shots directly to Mankind's head. Fans in the arena begged for it to stop. Even The Rock's own family, watching from ringside, were in tears. This wasn't scripted anymore. It felt dangerous, out of control. Finally, the sound system played a recording of Mankind saying, "I quit," ending the match. But here's the twist. Mankind never actually said the words. WWE had pre-recorded the line and spliced it in. It was a shocking swerve, but by that point, fans were more concerned with whether Mick Foley would even walk again. This match blurred the line between entertainment and real violence in a way WWE had never shown before. It pushed the Attitude Era to its breaking point, and it left fans wondering, just how far was WWE willing to go for a story? And hey, if you're enjoying these deep dives, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got plenty more moments just as shocking as this one coming up. CM Punk versus John Cena, Money in the Bank, 2011. By 2011, WWE felt predictable. John Cena was the face of the company, the hero who always overcame the odds. But CM Punk was about to flip the script, literally. Weeks before Money in the Bank, Punk cut the now legendary pipe bomb promo. Sitting cross-legged at the top of the ramp, he aired every real frustration fans had with WWE. He blasted the company's politics. He called out Vince McMahon, Triple H, and even mentioned New Japan and Ring of Honor, names that were never supposed to be spoken on WWE TV. It felt less like a promo and more like Punk pulling the curtain back on everything fans weren't supposed to hear. That set the stage for his title match against Cena in Chicago. And from the moment Punk's music hit, you could feel it. This wasn't just another match. The hometown crowd blew the roof off the arena, treating Punk like a revolutionary taking on the system. Cena, the ultimate company man, walked into the most hostile crowd of his career. The match itself was incredible, but the real shock came at the end. Punk pinned Cena clean, something few had done in that era. The crowd lost their minds, and then Punk did the unthinkable. He grabbed the WWE Championship, blew a kiss to Vince McMahon at ringside, and disappeared into the Chicago night. For a moment, it looked like WWE had just lost its top prize to a man walking out of the company. Fans at home were left asking, was this scripted, or had Punk really gone rogue? It was wrestling at its best, where reality and storyline became impossible to separate. Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan, SummerSlam, 2005. SummerSlam 2005 was supposed to be a dream match. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, against Hulk Hogan, the biggest star of the 80s. Two eras colliding on the biggest stage of the summer. But what fans got wasn't a clash of icons. It was Shawn Michaels turning the entire thing into a parody. Backstage, the plan was simple. The two would face off in a trilogy. Michaels would win one, Hogan would win one, and then they'd settle it in a rubber match. But according to reports, Hogan suddenly changed the deal, deciding he only wanted one match. And of course, he wanted to win. Shawn Michaels wasn't thrilled. So when the match started, HBK decided to make a statement. Every punch from Hogan sent Michaels flying across the ring like he'd been shot out of a cannon. A simple big boot had Shawn bouncing around like a cartoon character. Every move was sold so ridiculously over the top that fans couldn't tell if they were watching comedy, protest, or both. The longer it went, the clearer it became. Shawn wasn't playing this straight. He was mocking Hogan in front of the world. Sure, Hogan got his clean win as planned, but the real story was Shawn's performance. Fans weren't talking about the result. They were talking about Shawn Michaels overselling every move like a man who wanted everyone backstage to know he wasn't happy. It wasn't just a match. It was Shawn breaking script in the pettiest way possible and making the entire spectacle unforgettable for reasons WWE never intended. Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. WrestleMania 30, 2014. For more than 2 decades, The Undertaker was untouchable at WrestleMania. 21 matches, 21 victories. The streak wasn't just a record, it was a legend, something fans believed would never be broken. And then came WrestleMania 30. The dead man stood across from Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate. Fans expected another hard-hitting match, but nobody seriously thought Undertaker would lose. This was just another chapter in the streak, until it wasn't. The match itself was slower than most expected. Undertaker looked off his game, and as it turned out, he suffered a concussion early on. But when Lesnar hit that third F5 and the referee's hand slapped the mat for the 3 count, the entire Superdome froze. The camera panned the crowd, fans with their jaws on the floor, some literally holding their heads in disbelief. Paul Heyman screaming, "Oh my God," at ringside, and Michael Cole's call, "The streak is over." It wasn't scripted for shock. It was genuine, raw disbelief washing over 75,000 people at once. What made it even wilder was how unceremonious it felt. No big send-off, no dramatic build-up, just silence and shock. Fans thought there had to be a mistake. But no, after 21 straight WrestleManias, the impossible had happened. The Undertaker streak was dead. It remains one of the most off-script feeling moments in WWE history, not because it wasn't planned, but because the audience simply couldn't believe it was real. Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, SummerSlam 2016. By 2016, Brock Lesnar had a reputation. He wasn't just the Beast. He was a guy who blurred the line between scripted violence and real-life destruction. But at SummerSlam against Randy Orton, things went way further than anyone expected. The match started as a hard-hitting brawl, exactly what fans thought they'd see. Suplexes, stiff shots, and a brutal pace. But the ending is what turned this into one of the most shocking matches of the modern era. Lesnar mounted Orton on the mat and began dropping legit elbows straight to his skull. These weren't worked punches or safe strikes. These were heavy MMA-style blows. Within seconds, Randy Orton's head split open. Blood poured onto the canvas as the crowd gasped in disbelief. This didn't look like wrestling anymore. It looked like a real fight. The referee stopped the match, declaring Lesnar the winner by TKO, a finish almost never used in WWE. Orton lay in a pool of his own blood, needing 10 staples in his head after the beating. Fans weren't just shocked, they were confused. Was this planned? Did Lesnar really go off script? Or had WWE actually told him to do it? Backstage, reports flew. Wrestlers were furious. Chris Jericho even confronted Lesnar, thinking he had gone too far. To this day, people still debate how much of that finish was truly agreed upon. What's certain is this: in one night, Brock Lesnar turned a scripted main event into something that looked dangerously real. And that's the power of these unscripted moments. They remind fans that in WWE, no matter how carefully things are planned, anything can happen when the script is torn up in front of our eyes. Which of these moments do you think went too far? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more wrestling deep dives.